Good afternoon and blessings on this frigid day. It's kind of cold outside, but it's warm in the studio because we are just having fun. It's Martin Luther King Day, and we just recognizing his greatness and all of that good stuff. But I just want to thank God always for allowing me the opportunity. You know, I tell you all, we need information out there. We need correct information. At least we perish for lack of it. So I thank God every time I can get on this mic and try to share what I know. Each one teach one. And I just thank him every time for it. I thank Norm for giving me the opportunity. He's quite a young man who has, he just got this thing going on and set me up and have me to deliver to you each day. I thank my crew, Lula Salvador, my producers, Lula Salvador and Sheila Brown, Bird Brown, and Bird. And of course, I thank my advisor, Juanita McClure, and I thank my publicists, the little ones, Alwa and Elijah. I mean, Halim. I'm just Alwa giving you too much credit. You better come aboard, boy. That's Halim and Elijah. Thank them so much, And us as people of faith, we know that God informs us. Sometimes through examples and sometimes through analogies, So I'm very cognizant of the examples that have been given me. I tell everybody about, first of all, you know me. Y'all know me. I'm an unapologetic amateur, looking for expert, Ruby Williams Shivers. And I come on each week trying to explain what I mean by the amateur versus expert. So what has happened with me, I noticed in my life, God has been giving me these examples when I come out and try to figure out how to inform my people. Well, when I wrote my latest book, Why Shouldn't I Cry? Ode to the Black Man. It was just at the beginning of the pandemic. And matter of fact, I had set up a book signing at Mount Timon Emmy Church, and then we had to cancel because of the pandemic. But it was a direct message to me in how to go forward in explaining what I was trying to say about us as African people and the need for experts in our lives. And what it showed me at that time, that virus came in so serious. I mean, it killed over 2 million people in a short period of time. And we was all up in we didn't know what to do. Those of us who was given some advice we weren't prepared to accept, and the other one we were just, but what we did do, what we all knew, that none of us could go to anyone, and the celebrities that we knew, and the big ball players that we knew, anybody, even the President of the United States, because if you recall, at that time our president was twice indicted, 19 indictments or whatever he's going through now, who suggested that we inject bleach. So we couldn't even depend on anyone like that. We knew we needed to look at someone who has studied this stuff, what we call the experts. So likewise, when I thought about our situation over 200 years of something, if you would think about it, was worse than the virus, because that was over a 200-year period. Trauma unlike any that we have ever seen in the history of the world. So it gave me a good reason to say, look, if we would concentrate, or we know that we need experts to deal with our situation here, why wouldn't we assume we need experts to deal with 200 years of slavery? And I beg to differ with that word. I'm trying to redefine slavery because we get confused. When we say slavery, think about slavery in terms of what other folks have had. But what we had was unparalleled to anything anyone else had had. So I would not call it slavery. I call it more of genocide. And there was a young lady who created the word Ma'afa. Whatever, but it wasn't slavery. And with that in mind, I'm always looking for analogies. And so that was what happened with my latest book. And then when I got to thinking about what we really needed in terms of mental health examinations or whatever you call it, the same as we would do with the virus, the hostage issue. I was watching TV the other day, and I saw where these people were coming back from the hostage situation. I'm not trying to get off in any political, thing or anything. Just a human being brought back from a situation, a terrible situation. And I noticed that those that was bringing them back in did not allow, was not a request in any way, anybody other than professionals. They wanted mental professionals to come and greet these people. They didn't ask for no celebrities. They didn't ask for the President of the United States, President Biden, or anyone else. They wanted professionals. So that tells you that they understood just that trauma, not little trauma, it's a trauma, but over a smaller period of time, 3 or 4 weeks. We have trauma over 200 years, and we don't think we need, quote, experts. Expert in Africanism, not expert in mechanics, not expert in computers, not experts in, I don't care, experts in what we need. So that's how I try to, define and try to make people understand each time what I'm talking about, so you won't get misunderstood about my framing the word expert. We are experts in a lot of areas, but I mean experts in Africanism. And I'm still trying to explain the expert. And I was reading just this week where there's a cancer center being built in New Jersey. 360-degree approach to patient-centered cancer care. Now, they have places around treating cancer, the Kessler Hospital, Robert Wood Johnson Hospital, a lot of other places. But they saw the need to bring these experts under an umbrella, specifically for the exploration of cancer totally. Well, now, if we're going to accept what we went through over 200 years as probably worse than cancer, shouldn't we think of something similar to bring our experts together? Those who are trained in what I call Africanism, that thorough understanding of who we were and what has happened to us since our kidnapping and since our 200 years of unparalleled abuse, and possible cures for what ails us, mental and physical. We need to establish a facility in each state that will speak to the need of our unique situation. It would bring more attention to the legitimacy of our situation. And we got the money. They say if we were a nation, what would it, Terry, we would be like the 6th largest in the world?
We would, yes.
Yeah. And if we conceptualize something like that, it would give us bigger agency in demanding reparation to finance such an endeavor.
That's right.
Everyone else has gotten reparation. So that's what I want you to go away with today, to know when I use the word expert, I mean expert in something that we can establish under an umbrella that would allow us to study as deeply and seriously about our situation as this people who are bringing all this. That's a great thing they're bringing into New Jersey, a center for cancer research under an umbrella different from what they have had in New Jersey. Terry, welcome, my brother. Blessed Martin Luther King Day.
Yes. It's so funny that we're meeting on this day where people are having so many celebrations,
Right.
But this is a celebration as well, a celebration, also appreciation.
Yes, it is. He was a dreamer,
Yeah, he was.
He was a dreamer, but
was.
yet he was a realist,
Yeah.
understanding the nature of humanity, and in this case, he was totally believing a God of salvation.
That's
see,
right. That's right.
and
That's right.
I do wish though everyone could read his continue to read his 2 famous speeches.
Yeah.
I Have a Dream and the Mountaintop.
Yes.
But I beg you to begin to read his other specialties too, his speeches also.
Yes.
And I can name a few.
Yes.
He had one that called Rediscovering Lost Values.
Oh, yes.
Lost Peers value that was taken from us.
Yes.
You know, he talks about our moral values that were taken.
Yes. Yes.
And of course, physical law, the moral law of the land,
Of course.
physical law of the land.
Of
We
course,
know quite well the physical law of the land. We know we can't get away with certain things, but sometimes we have lost our moral compass.
That's right.
And it's not
That's right.
our fault. I always say it's not, and I'm not trying to make quote excuses because I don't use quote excuses with us.
Yes.
The excuses for those folks who were born into white privilege.
Yes.
Explanation is what we need to talk about.
Exactly.
So the explanation behind we do certain things because we lost our moral compass.
That's right.
And that's what he was. And another one, I wish people will watch the movie, not the movie, watch one of his speeches called The Birth of a New Nation.
That's something. Yes.
You know, the struggle of Moses moving forward to the promised land. He quests for freedom. Our quest for freedom.
That's right. That's right.
Something in the soul
It's
that
still
cries
important.
out for
Yeah.
freedom.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
freedom only comes through. He said agitation. You wouldn't think he would say that because you read "I Have a Dream."
That's right. That's right.
Agitation, resistance, and other things.
That's right.
But it definitely came through that.
Yeah.
So you tell me that you was at an
Yeah.
affair
As a
yesterday.
matter of fact, Martin Luther King Day in Rawway.
Yes.
And in Rawway, we have an actual monument, a
Mhm.
statue, and we have a column, and they're going to expand that. And that's going to
okay.
become Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Park in Rawway.
In Rawway.
Yes, so
Mhm.
they showed us the blueprints for that, and they
Mhm.
showed us how it's going to be. So again, I mean, it started from a small thing, but now it's really spreading out because they realize that Martin Luther King is not just a man for today,
Right.
but he's for yesterday, and also he's for tomorrow.
Oh, yes, definitely. Yeah, another one of his speeches I want people to read is "Where do we go from here?"
Oh yes.
And we move our nation to great equity. It talks about their efforts in the South, how they went through series of things in one area of the South, and I can't recall right now, but they did a whole lot of work getting us to where we are today, you know. And then another one is "A Time to Break Silence." Now, that was when he was talking about the Vietnam War.
Yes, and that's when he got in trouble.
That's when he got in trouble. And they could not believe that he could associate what was happening in Vietnam with what was happening with our people
Isn't that
here.
something?
And when I heard his
Wow.
speech, I was just flabbergasted. I said, "Oh my goodness," because that was the first time I had heard
Yeah,
that.
well, yeah.
And
Yes.
people need to start listening to the Martin Luther King speeches,
right.
not just the two
Yes,
that they
yes.
sanitize
Oh,
and want to
please.
put on the
Yes,
market
yes,
for
yeah,
us,
yes,
you know.
yes.
So if they give, and then there was another one say, "Give us the ballot, the voting." Talk about how we fought for the right to vote.
That's right.
Which brings me to present day people who are questioning whether they should vote or not.
Oh wow.
Don't question it. Go out and vote, because Martin Luther King and others fought for it.
That's right.
I wasn't brave enough because I was not going to go out amongst the dogs. I just wasn't going to do that.
Yeah, that was
I
tough.
figured out
That was tough.
I was on the other end, but I learned to appreciate him and folks like him who did that for all of us,
That's right.
because he didn't have to do it,
That's right.
and wasn't getting paid to do it. Matter of fact, he got killed behind it. So if he did that for us, we need to, the least we could do, whether we like the person or not, go out and vote
Yes.
for your own, for your children's sake,
That's
for
right.
your
That's
sake.
right, our future.
Yeah, for our future. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's amazing that people try to pigeonhole Dr. King, but he had a lot to say, and this day is really good because, again, for many and
Yeah.
for all of us, it's really a day of service. To the
Yes.
point, I mean, we can go to the mall, we can go there and there, but the thing is that when I went to the program today in Rawway, the basic theme was quoting Dr. King. He says, "Everyone can be great because everyone can serve. Everyone can be great because everyone can serve."
Everyone
and
can serve.
that was one of the themes of his life, and we have to realize that he gave us something to build on.
Yes.
Because we still
Yes,
need,
he did.
we need to be of service to each other.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
just one last thing, this is before he died, and he said that this is what he wanted to be remembered for, and I quote here. It says here, "I'd like somebody to mention that day that Martin Luther King Jr. tried to give his life serving others. I'd like for somebody to say that day that Martin Luther King Jr. tried to love somebody. I want you to say that I tried to love and serve humanity."
And
So
he
again,
did.
He did.
Mhm.
And this what we just celebrate today is his legacy.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it's important to. That's why it's so important, like you said, to know those speeches.
Yeah.
Not just the ones. I mean, letter from Birmingham jail is good, and all this other kind of stuff. But there's so many other
Yes.
things that he did. You know?
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
And he's he was it was a young man too
Yeah,
when
yeah,
he
yeah.
left
In
there.
his 30s, the same
Yeah,
way
in
with
his
Malcolm
30s,
X. They
same way.
died in their late 30s, and the thing is that, you know, we have to realize that they were here for a reason, and
Yes,
for a purpose.
definitely.
You know,
Had given so much.
that's right.
Both of them
Yeah,
had given so much.
I mean, the ultimate sacrifice is their life. They
Yes.
gave their life. You know,
Gave their life. And to think about it was a struggle just to get a birthday for him. Just to get this day
yes,
coming
yes,
together
yes,
for
yes,
him.
yes, yes.
I recall, I forgot what person we was under at the time, what president, but I know it was a struggle
Yes,
just
it
to
was.
get
It
the,
was.
I think it was Reagan, I'm not really sure,
Okay.
but just to get the holiday for him, and then with Stevie Wonder coming up with the beautiful
yeah.
song. I can't forget
Yes,
that.
that classic.
Yeah, classic
Happy
song.
birthday to you.
Yes, 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 yes. That was great.
Yeah,
That was
yeah,
great.
yeah. And it's so interesting because, you know, we at the celebration, of course, we sang and it's so it's somewhat ironic, but we don't want to go into that. But it says here we sang the Star Spangled Banner, of course, and we sang Lift Every Voice and Sing.
Mm-hmm.
And also we had a saxophonist who actually played Amazing Grace.
Okay.
And so again, I mean, it's important to have music in our celebration because Dr. King loved music.
Well, music
He
is
loved
part of us.
Yeah, oh yes, please,
Music
please,
is what
please.
got us to where we could fight.
That's right. That's
Music is what got us to come together
Right. That's right.
on one accord and understand that we had we had something to fight for.
Well, that's the thing, and it's interesting to me. I'm a big music fan, and on my Facebook page every week I do a music blog, and it's entitled "Profiles in Classic R&B." And this week I'm so excited because I was going through Facebook and I saw a orchestra, and I looked at all these white people. They're playing their violins and they're playing their horns, and one had a harp and whatnot. And I listened to the music. I said it sounds kind of familiar, and I thought it was some kind of Beethoven type thing. And I listened to it even more clear. Then I saw a brother here on a guitar and another brother on the wah-wah pedal. And I'm saying, what is this? This is not Beethoven. It was Curtis Mayfield. But they were doing it in the orchestra setting.
Right.
You know, just to show his music was epic. And sometimes we take it for granted.
Yeah.
And so this week on my Facebook page, Profiles in Classic R&B, all week, 5 days, 5 essays on Curtis Mayfield.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
because I love him because he was not only a poet, he was a philosopher, and he was definitely in the spirit of Dr. Martin Luther King, letting us know that, you know, like the brother said, you know, he said, I won't be there with you, but I've been to the mountaintop.
Been to the mountaintop.
And I think a lot of times with us, I think as you get older, and you probably attest to this, you know, especially when you have grandchildren,
Agreed.
you realize that what you and I are doing is not for us. It's really for them.
Exactly. Exactly.
And that's
You
a
just
sobering
said it.
thing because a lot of things that we want for them, we won't see.
We wouldn't see. It
never
was
see.
interesting you would say that. I was at the church. Was it yesterday? Martin Luther King celebration at Mount Teman AME Church.
Yes.
And the pastor brought up the Amistad. You heard that?
Yes,
Amistad
of course,
program.
of course.
But it was not all started, but the New Jersey end of it is in from Mount Teman
Yes.
AME Church.
Okay, I love
But
that.
guess where
I
it
love
was started from?
What's that?
A group called ACAP.
Oh, what?
I
What?
I founded the group called ACAP.
Yeah.
And they call me President Emeritus, but it's not just for my benefit. It was good to hear that because it's for your grandchildren, your children. They sit and look at see what you have done,
That's right.
and will propel them or encourage them to make the service, you know, their aim.
That's right. That's
You
right.
know,
Yeah.
but I was just proud to know that, and I'm just going to go further into it. They didn't say more about it, but
Yeah,
I
please.
definitely going to go back and say, well, did I have anything to do with that?
But sometimes, you know, Sister Ruby, you know, and again, you know, I love you so much because sometimes you don't realize the seed that you have planted.
Yeah,
Because I remember, you know, I don't want to take you too far.
Take me back as far
your
you want.
archives, but I remember when you had the TV show.
Yeah.
And I was one of your guests.
Yes.
And I'm in this studio, and I say, I've never been in the studio before, and I'm on TV. But the thing is that you started that. That was the seed, and it leads to this, you know. But I think one of the things is that a lot of times our people,
Yeah.
we are sort of paralyzed by fear.
Yeah.
And Dr. King says something about that, which I always tell my children. This is what Dr. King said. He says that you don't have to see the whole staircase. Just take the first step.
Just take the
You
first
have
step.
to see the whole thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's dark ahead,
Yeah.
and sometimes there's only enough light just to see maybe a couple of miles ahead of you, but you keep on going.
Yes,
You know?
yes, definitely.
And sometimes we're so afraid to fail, but failure is really the first step in success.
Success,
You know?
exactly.
I mean, look at Thomas Edison. How many times he failed?
Fail, exactly.
To do the light bulb.
Yeah,
And so he said he
yeah.
found 1,000 ways to do it wrong.
Yeah.
And 1,001 way he got it right.
Yeah, yeah. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, we don't want to do that,
And there's so much to learn about people who you look at and think they have no fear,
Oh,
think it's all
please.
cool with them. I was listening to my pastor on Sunday. I didn't go to church, but I was on Zoom.
Yeah,
He's talking about Dr. Martin Luther King and how the fear that he had that other folks didn't really know about.
That's right.
He had fear and he was lonely a lot, and
That's right, of
but they
course he
know
was.
that if they
Of
would
course.
bring that out,
Yeah.
it might do damage to his image amongst people. So he always had to keep that within him,
Yeah.
keep that to himself and his few friends,
Yeah.
the closest friends around him.
Because I love the fact that, Dr. King, he had fear, but,
Yeah.
Les Brown says feel the fear, but do it anyway.
Yeah,
You're going to be afraid, you're going to be nervous. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
when I taught my first class in college,
Right.
I'm saying, what the heck am I doing here?
Yeah.
I said, oh, yeah, I know what I'm doing here. I'm making money to feed my family.
Right.
So
And
I
that
found
was
my voice.
good reason enough. That was
Right,
good
right,
reason enough. And then when
right.
you know what you're doing for your people,
Yes.
you know that what we're doing here, I'm sure that I have not been able to clarify as well as I want to about the whole idea of amateur versus expert.
Yeah.
It will come.
That's right.
I'm sure of it.
Repetition.
But I know,
Yeah, yeah.
repetition. And like I say, God gives you. If I'm working through God, I really am. I couldn't do it on my
Yeah, you
own,
couldn't do it
and I
on your
wouldn't
own.
do it on my own. At this stage of my life, I wouldn't be
Yeah.
sitting up at a podcast. And that would just not be what I wanted to do.
No.
But I know that we will perish for lack of knowledge, and if we don't see a way, figure out a way with all the knowledge out there.
That's right,
And what
that's
I'm
right,
trying to
right,
explain to people, I'm not talking about your academics.
No,
You can be
no,
a
no.
PhD and start
Oh,
liking
please.
the knowledge
Yes,
we need
yes,
as
yes,
African
yeah,
people.
yeah.
So what I'm saying, it may take a little person like me, an unapologetic amateur, to plant a seed in those who may be able to take it further and to say we need something other than just to say, well, we got to do this and we got to do that without saying something happened to us.
That's right.
And if something happened to us over 400 or 200 years, plus the other two of racism and discrimination,
yeah.
then this must mean that we got to be more serious about the zero in on what it is that we got to do. As with this cancer center that's coming into New Jersey, they have places for cancer, but they know they need a center to get all their experts under one
Yeah, so
umbrella
that
to try to
come together. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
And that's exactly what I'm trying to say. We need the experts that I define as Africanism, the ones who have studied from the very beginning,
Yeah.
as original people, to the time when we were in Africa and developing all those great things that we did.
Yeah,
I got to recognize my folks here
Oh,
when I
some
see them
people
come
coming
up.
in, all right.
Mark Booth, true, thank you so much. Tiffany, bless you, Maruba, and Dr. Carl Foley. Well, no, this is Jerry Benjamin here. Joe, but it just to say, Mark Booth, Rashida, thank you, my love. You're always there. Thank you so much. George Jackson on board. Okay, appreciate you. But yeah, we're going to have to believe that we need something special other than what we have been given. And we have experts out there.
Yeah.
Make no bones about it. We have Dr. DeGrew, who wrote the book, Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome. We have the Jeffries that came on last week with us.
Oh, yeah,
We
yeah,
have
that was great.
the
That was a great
Califani,
program. I love
and
that.
we have
Yeah,
Dr.
yeah.
Kenyatta. So we have folks, but we need to make them know that they need to get under the umbrella.
Yeah.
As with this cancer center that will bring them together to study in concert of how to, one, give us our history.
That's right,
Number
that's
two,
right.
give us the reason for what happened to us.
That's
Number
right.
three, give us the exact sources
That's right,
of
that's
what
right.
happened to us, the
That's
rape,
exactly, yeah.
the
We-
killing,
we
the
need to-
lynching.
We need to review that. Yeah,
and
that's
then after
important.
that,
Yeah.
give us a way to know how to to create solutions.
That's right.
Because just to know it
Yeah.
is
And
not enough.
We need a prescription.
Prescription,
to
exactly.
to deal with this.
Exactly. And once we have done that,
Mhm,
once other folks know we need that,
Yeah, yes.
then they won't gloss over us being just one another person in slavery. Because that is not what it was. It was not another person in slavery. We were in something that was so different from anything, uniquely different from anything that anyone has ever been through, that they need to study that from that perspective.
And the beautiful thing about Dr. King is that, you know, he's right on time today. Because one of the biggest problems that I foresee, especially with the coming election, they talk about violence and political violence.
Yeah.
And Dr. King addressed that. I just want to read this brief passage. It says
Yeah.
here, this is from Dr. King. It says, he said, violence as a way of achieving racial justice is both impractical and immoral. It is impractical because it is a descending spiral ending in destruction for all. The old law of an eye for an eye leaves everybody blind. It is immoral because it seeks to humiliate the opponent rather than win his understanding. It seeks to annihilate rather than convert. Violence is immoral because it strives on hatred rather than love. It destroys community and makes brotherhood impossible. It leaves society in monologue rather than dialogue. Violence ends by defeating itself. It creates bitterness in the survivors and brutality in the destroyers. Please demand that we will not say his name, and his followers need to hear this.
I don't think they can.
I don't know if they can.
I don't
but,
think
you know,
they can.
If they don't, we'll all be blind and we'll all be suffering.
Uh-huh.
Don't they realize that if this man gets another 4 years, he's going to destroy everything?
Yeah, very much so. And one of the things that I keep coming back is that we need the knowledge. We need the correct knowledge, just not knowledge for knowledge's sake, but correct knowledge. Because many times, we get confused in trying to associate our situation with other people.
That's right.
I was just listening to I think it was The View, I'm not really sure. But we was talking about, it was The View.
Yeah.
And someone mentioned that they're trying to take our history out of the classrooms. And then they're doing it,
Yeah, right.
pretty effectively,
Oh, yeah.
taking them out.
Yeah, yeah.
And one of the viewers replied, and we worked for this. Why can't they take us out of the history of the country when we build the country?
Yeah,
We build a country. And someone replied, and just trying to be generous, didn't mean any harm, but the other one replied, and we all helped build the country, the immigrants and blah, blah, blah. But again, that's where we get confused. We can't compare our situation at all anytime with anyone else. Because what should have been replied, we built the country, but we built the country for free.
That's right.
Now, other folks did help build the country,
That's
like
right,
the
yeah.
immigrants that come in now. They're not compensated as they should be, but they're not being used for totally free. We were used as free labor.
That's right,
So that's
that's
the
right.
distinction.
Yeah, that's
And
the
we
distinction.
cannot ever associate our situation, even with being generous. We cannot do it with others because we confuse our people who trying to know our total history.
Well, that's the point. But I think that's why we need leaders who point us in the right direction.
Hey,
You know,
see my
because-
nephew Hassan say, awesome, Ruben. I'll keep doing it now. You know I will.
we need that. And Dr. King speaks on this. He says here, we need leaders, not in love with money,
Right.
but in love with justice, not in love with publicity, in love with humanity.
Yeah.
So again, whether you're black, white, poor, rich, or whatever, it's about humanity.
Yeah.
I don't look at a person as white or black or whatnot. We're all human. And again, if we don't work together, we'll perish together. And it's just that simple.
Yeah.
We keep on saying that if we don't vote this election, we're going to lose our democracy.
Yep.
That's going to affect everybody, not
Everybody.
just black people.
Exactly.
White people, you know.
Probably it will affect white folk more because we have been so affected. I don't know if there's so much more we
We
can.
dealt that. We have practiced with this.
Exactly. So it's actually going to affect
They
them
have
more,
it.
and they don't understand
They're not
that
ready-
and
they're
don't
not ready
realize
for it.
that. That's why I'm always saying that we can never compare ourselves with any other
We
person
can't.
in the world.
Our-
We
our-
really
our-
can't.
Our,
We're
our
different.
story is unique.
It's unique
know?
to everything
Yeah.
anyone else has gone through or will go through or whatever. And the quicker we learn that, we will be able to probably come to some conclusion about who we are,
That's
in
right,
opposed to
yeah.
who other folks say we are.
That's right, right.
You know, because
Yeah.
we're working on the assumption that we are who other people say we are.
And work on the assumption that everybody wants good for everybody else, and that's just not true.
It's not true at all. Because we went through so much
You know,
unique situation
that's
in
right,
our
yeah,
in our
'cause
history.
That's right, because
Yeah.
because the whole thing we're battling with the white supremacy and also white privilege.
Yeah.
You know, a friend of mine, Wade Hudson, he had a book signing, his latest book called The Reckoning, and he was telling a story about he was at this big conference, and it's this gentleman, white gentleman, kept on walking back and forth. You know, now Wade had all his books out. It's from a black publishing company, so it would be black books. And the white man had the audacity and the nerve to say, "Why aren't there any white books on this table? I'm a black publisher. I publish black books." But he got offended that there were no white books on the table.
Well, see, that's because of confusion. People can easily be offended once they get it confused as to their position in
Exactly.
their station in life.
Of course, of course.
See, we've come under the 20th, first century's belief that we're taking from them,
Yes, is that something?
that we're affirmative action, people,
Yeah.
all that stuff that we have not clarified.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
if
yeah.
we would get ourselves together, like I said, under that umbrella,
Yeah.
and people will recognize that we know we are different. We know that things have happened to us on a different level, in a different fashion.
Yeah.
As long as we keep thinking that we're, and another thing I want to bring to people's attention too,
Please do.
that whole
Please
idea
do.
of integration. It never started with us wanting integration. We wanted desegregation.
That's right.
That's a different. Listen, different than desegregation is something totally different than integration, and that was the idea behind the thrust for us to come into some kind of civilization.
That's right.
Out of slavery.
Yeah.
But because of the folks who deal with the messaging, they knew that to say, I'll put integration in that, and that's going to disturb them little folks back down there who think they're better than anybody else.
Yeah, of course.
And so they got on top of that, the integration part, and it was never about integration in the workplace. Because I don't think there's anyone here who necessarily, you may not care one way or the other. If I want to be integrated, let me be integrated. But it was not that. It was desegregation, and let me do whatever I needed to do or want to do.
And a certain a matter of equality. If you're giving the quote white school this amount of money, then you should be giving the black school a certain amount of money. It should be equal. Because if you're giving them more than you're giving me, now I'm at a deficit. And how do I make up for that?
Right, and with that, then you would want to integrate into whatever's better.
Of course.
But it was not the initial
that's
point
human
was not
nature.
integration. It was desegregation, but give me equal.
That's right. I just want equal.
But you claim that it was integration, and you still desegregate.
That's
I mean,
right.
you still segregate it
That's
because
right,
there's
you're
more
right.
segregation than
Of
ever.
course, of course.
And particularly in our school system, and they are less equal than the ones, other school system. And we're not supposed to know that, but those of us who know that know that.
Yeah, and again, and sometimes it could work to our advantage because, again, when I was coming up in school, I never thought I would go to college. That was just an impossible dream. But when I got a chance to go to college, I overcompensated. I studied harder than any student in the class because I thought that I was inferior.
Well, that's typical blackness. No, you weren't the only one. Most black folks who study anywhere know they got to be 2-3 times better than the white student.
Yeah.
You know.
And I learned that the hard way.
Exactly. But as long as we know that, one of the things, I'm jumping a little bit,
No
but what's
problem.
happening with the sister up there in Harvard,
Yes. Oh, yes.
they're now
yes,
claiming
yeah,
that she was not qualified. She likening something, a plea. Before she could get there, she had to be 3 times.
She had to be. She had to be.
Had
She
to be. So if we miss that point and don't drive that point home to them and us,
Yes,
because
yes,
some of
yes.
us may not understand
yeah.
it. They've taken the history out of our heads. So some of us don't understand exactly what's happening in a situation like that. You got to be 3 times what they are to even get anywhere. So when they use the word affirmative action, don't shy away from it.
No.
Because they got affirmative action just from day one.
That's right. And the thing is that, with her situation, it became more political than anything else because there was a group of, I call them shareholders and stockholders, boards who wanted her out, and they did a political hit job on her. And so she's still teaching at the university, but they didn't want her to have that position.
That position.
Which is because she was more than qualified for that.
Oh, please.
You know.
And if they're going to assume that, then you look at the ones before.
Oh, please, yes, yes.
You know,
yes,
check
yes,
their
yes.
qualifications. Where were they coming from? All white men, except the one white woman who was there before she was.
Yeah, and they had plagiarism issues too. So if that was the only thing,
and hers was not even plagiarism, from what I understand.
Her advisor had said this was okay.
Because I think she just maybe missed out on some something or another. Like
it was minuscule in
it wasn't plagiarism
to other things, you know. But again, they hold us to a higher standard, and it's just. Beautiful that we can reach a higher standard.
Yeah,
that's
we
the
better
beauty
if we want to get. We better if we want to get any place.
I'll cause that bar
Right.
and then we go about my business.
Exactly. But getting back to Martin Luther King, he's one of the sources for all that we can claim now.
Yes.
Because they fought a tough fight.
That's right.
You know, with the water hoses, the dogs, and biting
and the beating,
and
all that kind of stuff. And again,
bombings, and all that.
But we came through all of that, and I think we came through all that for a reason. I think there's a reason that we survived as long as we did. I do believe, you know, I look at my situation. My mother's 87, my father's 90, so there's DNA in my genes. But there's DNA in our race. You know, we went through horrific situation, but we're still standing.
Yeah,
we're still standing.
Still
and I think it's for a reason.
I know it is for a reason. I know it is for a reason. And it's being realized sort of in a slow fashion, but when you see what's happening now between groups that you would not have thought were going to be fighting each other, and it's sort of leaving us to ourselves in a way.
Right.
You know? So there's a reason, and it's very obvious that God, what they say, my mom used to say, God don't like ugly.
That's right, it don't. Yeah.
And somehow it comes around to you reaping what you sow.
Exactly.
So you just got to fight on and keep on fighting.
Yeah. And the thing is that we've always been a religious people because we knew that in the final analysis what we had was our moral values. I mean, and it makes me laugh because sometimes white people think that if we had gotten to the position that they are, that we would wreak havoc and revenge. But we're not the kind of people.
That's not in our DNA.
Look, I'm the type of person, you know, and I learned this from my mother and my father. Look, if I can't help you, I won't hurt you. As a matter of fact, I'll just leave you alone. Okay? That's it.
Yeah. Well, that was never what we were about anyway.
No, we were never about that. We were never about that.
Yeah. So what we look forward to now is not another Martin Luther King, but a continuation of what he brought forth to us to let us know that it's going to be a fight. You got to fight, and you're going to continue to fight. Now it's debatable what way you want to fight. You know, I'm not trying to say I'm not going out there on the dog. I'm just not doing that.
What strategies? You know, what
strategies you want to use?
I mean, is it going to be political? Is it going to be spiritual? Is it going to be in the music?
A combination of both?
Yeah, being the culture, I mean, a combination of many different things, you know?
Yeah, that's what disturbed him so much when he spoke on the Vietnam War.
Oh, yeah.
He was saying, now, you had expected me to calm my people, you know, and the historically Carmichaels of the world, or the Brown, you expected me to calm them and tell them that they had to go the nonviolent way, but here you over there in this country where you know you needed not be.
That's right.
And when I speak out against it, then you're going to use me and call me all kinds of names.
And in a war that we couldn't win because those Vietnam people, they were not giving up. And the thing is that, you know, you have to understand a lot of times when you're fighting a battle and you're fighting in their country, they know their country. They know where to hide, where to attack you, this type of thing, you know. We go over to other people's country and we get beat because we don't know the terrain. We don't know what we're dealing with.
And particularly in that situation, from what I heard and I listened, like I say, this was my first time hearing this particular speech. It was just so
it's amazing, right?
Amazing and interesting that he was so clear.
Yes, he was.
It was just clear as the dichotomy between how they expected him to perform here in the United States and perform at that war.
Exactly.
I didn't know that they were so innocently those Vietnamese people. I didn't know anything about them. I hadn't read up on them. I hadn't read up a lot. But they were so similar to any other people who fighting for their rights.
That's all it is. I mean,
They were fighting for
they
their
want
country.
they want to they want to do their own self determination.
Yeah,
And you're
yeah.
trying to impose
Yeah.
something on them that's not them.
Yeah.
And one thing that I love about Dr. King, and he says this, and this is another quote. It says here, the time is always right to do what is right.
What is right?
You don't need an excuse to do right.
And he could not sit back at that time, having become the moral person that he was.
Yes.
He had won the Nobel Peace Prize.
That's right.
He couldn't justify that with if he were not going to speak truth to power.
Exactly.
And he had to, and then one of the things that I guess brought him down, but he had no choice in the matter. He had no choice in the matter. You were speaking about how we can go into we as black people will save ourselves.
Yeah.
And we will, because, see, we have to know, though, that we are faith-based people.
We
always
always will be.
Uh-huh.
You're not going to take that away
but
from
we
us.
have to have faith-based people. We have to have historians who know everything about our situation.
That's right.
From the beginning, middle, and the end.
We need that.
And then we need our mental health people. Because
Yes,
if we
yes,
don't
yes,
realize and don't
yes.
try to conclude that what we went through requires some kind of attention, mental attention,
it's
we're going to
all
always be pointing our finger at each other and say, well, you're not doing this, and you're not doing that, and you're not doing this. Now, next week I'm going to have, who will I have on my guest for next week? The 22nd will be Mr. Bill Davis. He's a historian out of from Rutgers University, adjunct professor. He has a memoir called Baba and the Crew. It's dispelling the myth of black fatherhood.
Oh, wow.
That's a myth that's been going down too.
Yes, we need to talk about black fathers.
Fatherhood. Well, in my book, Ode to the Black Man, Ode to the Black Man, Why Shouldn't I Cry? I talk extensively about that, and I'm so glad to have him on. But on the 27th, I'm going to have Dr. Swift. She's a psychologist. And that's what I'm going toward. I say we need these folks like the psychologists, the mental health people to help us get back in tune with what we need.
Please.
And it's called Swift Solutions. She's a consultant, and she's out of Broadway. So on the 27th, it's going to be Dr. Swift. On the 22nd, it's going to be Brother Bill Davis. He's an educator. So I'm just keep trying to have those people on.
And I'll be right by your side.
I know you will. You're my co-host.
And it's an honor.
It's an honor to have you here.
Like I said, you plant the seed, okay? And this is some of the fruition of that seed.
Well, we got to do it.
We got to.
We're going to liberate ourselves. We're going to do it. Because if not, we're going to continue to have what's his name? Governor DeSantis.
Oh, please.
I wrote him a letter. I should have brought the letter. I wanted to read it to you. But what I did, I praised him. I said, Dr. Dear
you gotta give him
Governor, thank you for awakening. He always talking about the woke generation.
He said woke is
woke. I said, thank you for awakening the woke. I told him, thank you for awakening the woke. Because what you did to me, I as a result of that.
Yes.
Well, my crew and I created a homeschooling for K through 6.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And that's specifically
so
to teach them their African history.
Yes.
That's what we're doing, just the African history. We want to teach them all about their African self.
Of course.
So when they go out into the Governor DeSantis schools, they won't be missing it. Matter of fact, they will bring something for him to know. He will not get that information from our children.
Right,
So we're encouraging all black folks across the country, and I know a lot of them are. But for those who haven't thought about it, just create a school within your home.
You got to.
You get your little kids around there, standing around and coming around. Exactly. 1 hour a day and teaching them their history. Least they be left bare when they go into these schools. And one of the things I know Governor DeSantis is worried about the white kids being offended. I say, please.
Really?
Is that what you're worried about? We have been offended for over 400 plus years.
But obviously we don't count. And then they're trying to ban dictionaries. Come on now, isn't that crazy?
Isn't that something?
I mean, you can't get a dictionary?
Oh my word! I don't know what
they got this Google.
Yeah, that's right. Who goes to the dictionary anyway?
You're too late. You're too
Yeah,
late with
just
that.
and a little too late on anything. They're too late on a whole lot of
And a whole
things.
lot of things.
And a lot of things that they are doing now, just encouraging people to take another look and see when the scripture that says we will perish for lack of knowledge. That's no joke.
There's no joke.
And but what happened is I'm trying to be one of those that makes sure that to my ability, the best of my ability, to bring in the knowledge that I can have. That's why I tell people my show is not about debate. I just bring in true knowledge.
Yes.
Do with what you want, and I have my experts who come on, and we talk about it, but not for debate. I bring strict information. You can't tell me that we weren't the first. You can't tell me that we weren't great creators of science and all.
No.
You
We're adaptable, you know.
You can't tell me that you didn't kidnap us from Africa.
Yeah.
You can't tell us that we didn't come through that Middle Passage and millions of us were killed as a result. You can't tell me that you didn't hoist us up on that slave block.
That's right.
And sold us like cattle
Yeah.
to the highest bidder.
Yeah.
And separated us from our children, our husbands, our wives. You can't tell us that's fact. You can't tell us that you treated us for 200 years unlike any other human being or any being
That's right.
in the annals of history. You can't tell us that didn't happen.
No, you can't.
So I bring on facts.
That's right.
And then what I want my people to do is to take the facts and do what you need to do with them.
Again, and we gave you jazz, we gave you blues, we gave you gospel.
After you have stripped us.
You wouldn't have had any of that without us.
Right. After you have
we would have
stripped
stayed where
us.
we were. You wouldn't have jazz, blues. You definitely wouldn't have rap.
Right.
You wouldn't have anything. And this has gone worldwide.
Yeah.
The jazz, the gospel, the rap, and that kind of thing. And there's people in foreign countries. When I travel, I go to London, I go to record stores, and they have collections of Al Green and Marvin Gaye and whatnot. You can't even get in this country.
And it's still minimizing
Of course
the
they-
fact
oh,
because they're
please,
not
please.
giving us credit.
No.
When you see they're looking at a person like Elvis Presley and say he was the king of rock and roll and he
Please.
got everything, and he admitted he got much of what he
I mean,
got.
look at Chuck Berry, look at Little Richard and whatnot. He copied all their moves. You know?
Yeah. So that's the danger in us knowing what we got
That's right.
and the other folks undermining our knowledge of what we have.
No,
So what we
can't
got
do
to do, as I said before, unless we get very serious about creating places where we can put this knowledge and people know that we're serious about knowing getting our knowledge in some places.
where can I
umbrella,
get it? Yeah, that's
then
important.
we will be a subject to all kinds of people stealing or misappropriating, misrepresenting us as the Africans that we know we to be. Well, all that's gonna come to. Okay, I see Lula Salvador. Oh, I'm here in the studio, but I'm watching. I see Juanita McClure. Okay, you're watching. Keep it real. I tell you, but it's a great day. I'm always pleased to be involved with the Martin Luther King holiday or the Malcolm X holiday or wherever, recognizing our people because it is extremely important that we keep our people alive. They fought so hard to forget what they've done, and leave it for other folks to write our history because I think they're showing us quite clearly how they would do if they was to write our history or we would allow.
Yeah. And it's so sad because, again, they say that black people don't read. We do read. We read things that really are relevant to us, although they try to minimize what we do. I mean, you look at Dr. Martin Luther King. I mean, he was a great clergyman and theologian and whatnot, but he was also a great writer.
Oh, great!
He was a great writer.
He was just great all the way around. He was an excellent.
Especially with that, when they tell us that we don't have a voice and we don't have things to teach other people. Yeah, we do because again. We've been the moral conscience of this country, whether they like it or not.
Yes.
They do wrong. They look, and then they try to co-opt us, and they can't do it because what we have is just too broad.
Yeah,
They can never, cover everything up. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. Let me just show you. We got to be able to always express that. We ought to always know that there's a reason. I was in church yesterday. I told you that I was at the Martin Luther King program, and there was one of the panelists made the point that certain things we weren't doing, and I raised my hand. I say, well, why is that? You know,
Good question.
why
Good
is
question.
that?
Good
There's a
question.
reason why
Yes,
we
yes.
don't do what you see other people you think average people are doing. It's not we don't want to. We're human beings like anyone. Oh, I know what the subject was about the business. We're talking about business in Elizabeth. There are no black businesses. Well, there are no black businesses in Plainfield that I know of.
Oh, yeah,
You know what I'm
that's
saying?
sad. Yeah, that's
And
sad.
what
That's
happened
sad.
is we know what happened. We know that folks who are taking over our community, and when I say taking over, it's not their fault.
No, no, no,
But
no.
there's a game too that's being played for us to pit each other, pit ourselves against each other.
That's right. Yeah,
Sharon, I see you, baby. Thank you for watching. Lloyd, hi, Mom. Thanks for watching. Pit each other against.
yeah. Exactly.
But if we know the game, we won't fall for that. But yet we will not fall too for someone saying that person doing better than us because they're smarter.
Yes, right, right. No, no, no.
We understand the game, so we won't fall for any of the stuff. You'll either fall for one or the other if you don't know it.
That's right.
You'll
That's right.
continue to say, well, those people are all got businesses. Why they got business? We must be lazy. We just sitting around and we don't do this and we don't do that. Unless we know that there was a system set up, and they explained that in Elizabeth. I got to get that information where there was money set aside for different groups
Yes,
to
yes,
come in
yes.
and build their businesses,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
while ours were being taken away from us.
That's right.
Now we don't get that clear. We don't make it clear. We don't put it under an umbrella that we can go through, and I can go and sit and look and read about that stuff.
Yeah, no, we need to know where the information is at, because if we
Yeah.
don't, they're going to take it. you
Yeah.
know.
And then as a result, then we will begin to dislike ourselves. In my book called Verbal Healing, we must reject tired, trite, tasteless, and other nonsensical expressions that keep us damaged. I talk about the things that we say about ourselves strictly out of mental fatigue, for lack of a better
It's
phrase.
easy to say these
Yeah,
things.
yeah, we are our worst enemy.
I heard that before.
Yeah, I guess so. We use that quite often.
Yeah, we do.
And we don't even know that we couldn't be our worst enemy.
How can you?
How can you be your worst enemy? But we have someone else that put it out there in the ethos, and we say we pick it up and we use it.
Yeah.
You know, we're not a monolithic group. Well, we shouldn't be a monolithic group because we have not got together. I mean, we should be more of a monolithic group at this stage of our game because we have not got together to sort out any kind of real
Anyway,
what we did.
yeah.
And they say black people don't stick together. Well, if we don't stick together, I don't know who's sticking with us. We may not be doing it to the extent that we would do it if we weren't had 200 years of abuse.
Yeah.
And mine. I start to say, what is that?
Mind-boggling.
Mind-boggling. But I start to say when Dr. California say, don't say, what is the word we often use? Brainwashing.
Brainwash, yeah, right. Brainwash, yeah.
Dr. California say brain dirty.
Yeah, right, yeah.
He said brain dirty.
Very dirty.
So it's not brainwashing. So to say we don't stick together, there's a reason.
Yeah.
There's no reason we wouldn't stick together unless we have been taught. Because we from the village perspective.
That's,
so we know how to stick together.
That's right.
You know?
It takes a village.
And then we use this phrase, black folks are like crabs in the barrel.
Whoa.
Don't know we all in the barrel. Every one of us.
Just the imagery.
The imagery. We just all trying to get out of a barrel. And if I'm clawing on you, it ain't trying to claw you down. It's just trying to get out of the barrel. And even with that, we don't do that. We help each other. Our whole thing in our communities have been to help. It's just lately when they
families have saved families.
Exactly. And when they threw the drugs in our community in the 80s and other things it was purposely done so we could separate. When they wouldn't allow black men to stay in the house if they were given a little bit of welfare,
Yeah.
it's purposely done.
Yeah.
So to say blacks are like crabs in the barrel, stop making excuses. You know, I wrote in my book about the word excuse and explanation.
It's two different things.
Two different things. Excuse is when you're born in the white privilege. And explanation is when you're born out of slavery.
That's right.
You know, you got the history of slavery.
That's right.
So we got to,
difference.
we got to really begin to study the language you use against each other.
Yes, that's right.
And when we see it like that, figure out where it's coming from or who controlling the verbiage.
And that's a good point because words matter.
Yes.
They matter a lot.
Yeah. Yes, they do. You would know about words.
Well, I love words. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I love words because they have so much meaning when you put together in the right way.
Right, right, right. Yeah, yeah,
So yeah.
yeah.
I love always. I told you this story. At 9 years old, I told my mom I want to be a writer.
Yeah.
At 9
yeah.
years old.
Really?
And
Isn't that interesting?
I never turned back from that. And I didn't know it was going to be a college professor, all this other kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, it was something that was in my mind, was in my heart.
Yeah.
And that passion became my purpose.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm still doing that to this day.
Yeah, to today.
Yeah.
And well, that's a great thing.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you another one that I kind of get off on a little bit. Used to be the thing that said, I don't care who teaches my children as long as they are being taught. Well, we realize now that's a whole. We realize now you care who teaches your child because there are some teachers who's teaching them in a subtle way sometimes.
Because they bring their values.
Yeah, their values to the classroom.
Yeah.
And then they don't always understand our children from their perspective.
That's right.
And even when they understand them, they deliberately. Say like Governor DeSantis, they tell me he was a teacher.
Oh.
They say he was a history teacher. Can you imagine what he was teaching?
Oh, man,
Can you even imagine what he was
gives
teaching?
Me chills.
Chills. So it shouldn't matter who teach your children because that they are an extension. Matter of fact, they are like the first authorities of means for the children.
And the kids believe their
everything
teachers,
the teacher said.
That's that gospel.
Yeah.
I told my mother, my teacher said I should have 3 meals a day and snacks.
Yeah.
And she said, well, tell your teacher to give you 3 meals and snacks. If that's what you need, then let her give that to you. And I said, okay.
Yeah, they believe. Yeah, and another one, the last one, we cannot dwell on racism. I don't think anybody would be saying that now. But you know what we thought, particularly when our president came in, our black president, we thought the whole thing was over.
Oh, yeah, no,
we
no more racism.
Home free.
No.
And that just invite backlashes. What we need to is a book called The Blacklash, right? Backlash. And what they do, when they go into the backlash, they do it through rules and enact rules against us and stuff like that. When we are talking about our backlash, we may go and, burn down a building or whatever, one that should have been down anyway. Condemned anyway. That's about the best we do. And they call us Glen or Queen Auntie. Thank you, baby, for watching. I'm Wally. Go ahead, Aunt Ruby. I love you all. Rashida Canty. I need that book. You got to get it. I am so pleased when you all watch and you make sure you encourage, you share. Always encourage your people to watch. Because we're just trying to get some information out here. We're just trying to enlighten people. We're trying to do God's work. He said people will perish for lack of knowledge. We're trying to make sure that doesn't happen. And when Governor DeSantis and the rest of those folks out there trying to take our history away from us, we know we need to know. We know our children need to know exactly who they are, what happened to them, why they're in the position that they're in, and ways to get out from under it.
That's right.
That's right. Rose Cabbage Stock and 21 others. Oh, thank you very much. It does my heart well. Now, for those of you who just appreciate what I'm doing or think I should continue, I want you to know that you can always encourage me, because information is not cheap. Believe me. So if you would just Cash App, Ruby Shivers, or the Zelle, I'd appreciate it so much. And I want you to continue to watch, whether you give anything or not. Just continue to watch and encourage your people to watch, because we got even better things coming. I got folks who's going to really come on here and give us the 411 of what's going on and how we need to get together.
That's right.
Under that umbrella I'm talking about. And when I say I'm an amateur, unapologetic amateur looking for expert, believe me, it's not for cuteness. It's for real.
That's right.
I'm looking for the expert to get together and to congregate under an umbrella that called Africanism. I appreciate all y'all so very much. And Terry, I'll see you next week.
Oh, looking forward to it.
And like I say, we're going to have Dr. Who did I say we're going to have? Bill Davis.
Bill Davis, yes.
Yeah, he's from Rutgers University, adjunct professor, and he wrote the book, Baba and the Crew.
Okay.
He got kids, and they all out of Rutgers
Oh,
University.
that sounds great.
Yeah. Yeah, they're all out of Rutgers University. He graduated from Rutgers, and he had the four. He's a dad. You know, they say we always they know our women usually are the ones who single parent people, but he was a single parent dad.
Oh, great!
And he
Okay.
raised 4 children.
Oh man!
And the
beautiful.
4 children
That's
all
great.
graduated from Rutgers
Oh
University.
my goodness! Wow. That's
And
great.
now, so he's telling the story of what he went through. But what he's saying, he's confirming what I always knew.
Yeah.
I always knew that black men was all that in a bag of chips. So
Hey.
he doesn't have to try to prove it to me and people who like me.
No, we got to rise to the occasion.
I'm
yeah.
glad that he gives the evidence.
Beautiful.
But we all know our black men has always been on top of it. Whatever they weren't is because things happen. And we got to figure that out. That's why I'm going to have my mental experts on here trying to figure that out.
That's right.
You know, I tell you, I'm getting a book, my memoir coming out, my memoir about my son, my baby boy. And I called him the African son. I tell the story about when I went to Africa for the first time. I saw this beautiful sun. Now, obviously, I had seen a sun somewhere. But when I got to Africa, the sun shone brighter than any I had ever seen. So when my baby died a couple of 3 years ago, and he was always, I call him rambunctiously beautiful, because he was rambunctious, but he was African.
Yes,
and we
yes,
don't know,
yes.
these folks over here don't know how to treat our African children who maybe have a little more energy than they do.
Exactly.
So when they threw the drugs in our community,
They brought it
those
right down.
ambitious African boys of ours,
Yeah,
you know, and they understood that. So the memoir is about him and the greatness of our black men.
Oh, that's
You
beautiful.
know,
That's
and then I got 2 other sons who are great, so I know black men are great.
They are.
I had a husband for about 55 years who were greater than great, you know. So don't tell me about black men
We're
now.
still talking about him, so he left the impact.
He definitely left an impact. So I do appreciate all of you for listening to me, and just keep listening and just keep encouraging me. And I'll see you next week. God bless.
God bless. God bless everybody. Oh, we did it again.
Still alive. Still alive. And to that music,